into insolent practice of requiring hotel guests to sign CHOP, even show identification. I asked, "What next? Food?" "I'm not hungry, Manny." "Manuel, you asked us to wait while Mike settled your questions. Let's get back to the basic problem. How are we to cope?" When we find ourselves facing Terra, David facing Goliath. Oh, been hoping that would go away. Mike, you really have ideas? I said I did, man, he answered plaintively. We can throw rocks. Bug's sake, no time for jokes. But man, he protested, we can throw rocks at Terra. We will. 8. Took time to get through my skull that Mike was serious, and scheme might work. Then took longer to show Wyo and Prof how second part was true.
Should have been obvious is dangerous. It would be wise for you to stay out of sight. This room, I'm thinking of renting it for a period, weeks or even years. You could hide in it, if you do not mind the obvious construction that will be placed on your staying here. Wyo chuckled. Why, you darling. Do you think I care what anyone thinks? I'd be delighted to play the role of your bundle baby. And don't be too sure I'd just be playing. Never tease an old dog, he said mildly. You might still have one bite. I may occupy that couch most nights. And well, I intend to resume my usual ways, and so should you. While I feel that it will take a busy Cossack to arrest me, I will sleep sounder in this hideaway. But in addition to being a hideout, this room is good for cell meetings. It has a phone. Mike said, Professor, may I offer a suggestion? Certainly, amigo. We want your thoughts. I conclude that the hazards increase with each meeting of our executive cell. But meetings need not be corporal. You can meet, and I can join you, if I am welcome, by phone. You are always welcome, Comrade Mike. We need you. However, Prof looked worried. I said, Prof, don't worry about anybody listening in. I explained how to place a Sherlock call. Phones are safe if Mike supervises call. Reminds me, you haven't been told how to reach Mike. How, Mike? Prof used my number. Between them, they settled on mysterious. MYSTERIOUS. Prof and Mike shared childlike joy and intrigue for own sake. I suspect Prof enjoyed being rebel long before he worked out his political philosophy. Well, Mike, how could human freedom matter to him? Revolution was a game that gave him companionship and chance to show off talents. Mike was as conceited a machine as you are ever likely to meet. But we still need this room, Prof said, reaching at the pouch, holding out thick wad of bills. I blinked. Prof, robbed the bank? Not recently. Perhaps again in the future, if the cause requires it. A rental period of 1 lunar should do as a starter. Will you arrange it, Manuel? The management might be surprised to hear my voice. I came in through a delivery door. I called the manager, bargained for dated key. 4 weeks. He asked 900 Hong Kong. I offered 930. He wanted to know how many would use room. I asked if it was policy of Raffles to snoop affairs of guests. We settled at 475 Hong Kong. I sent out bills. He sent down 2 dated keys. I gave one to Wyo, one to Prof. Kept 1 day key, knowing they would not reset lock unless we failed to pay at end of lunar. Outside, I ran into insolent practice of requiring hotel guests to sign CHOP, even show identification. I asked, what next? Food? I'm not hungry, Manny. Manuel, you asked us to wait while Mike settled your questions. Let's get back to the basic problem. How are we to cope when we find ourselves facing Terra, David facing Goliath? Oh, been hoping that would go away. Mike, you really have ideas? I said I did, man. He answered plaintively. We can throw rocks. Bug's sake, no time for jokes. But man, he protested, we can throw rocks at Terra. We will. 8. Took time to get through my skull that Mike was serious, and scheme might work. Then took longer to show Wyo and Prof how second part was true. Yet both parts should have been obvious. Mike reasoned so. What is war? One book defined war as use of force to achieve political result. And force is action of one body on another applied by means of energy. In war this is done by weapons. Luna had none. But weapons, when Mike examined them as class, turned out to be engines for manipulating energy. And energy, Luna has plenty. Solar flux alone is good for around 1 kilowatt per square meter of surface at lunar noon. Sun power, though cyclic, is effectively unlimited. Hydrogen fusion power is almost as unlimited and cheaper, once ice is mined. Magnetic pinch bottle setup. Luna has energy. How to use. But Luna also has energy of position. She sits atop of gravity well, 11 kilometers per second deep, and kept from falling in by curb only 2.5 kilometers per second high. Mike knew that curb.
Interesting news.
Daily he tossed grain freighters over it, let them slide downhill to Terra.
Has more services than we know what to do with.
Mike had computed what would happen if a freighter grossing 100 tons, or say mass of rock, falls to Terra, unbraked. Kinetic energy as it hits is 6.25 times 10 to the 12 joules, over 6 trillion joules. This converts in split second to heat. Explosion. Big one. Should have been obvious. Look at Luna. What do you see? Thousands and thousands of craters. Places where somebody got playful throwing rocks. Wyo said, joules don't mean much to me. How does that compare with H-bombs? I started to round off and head. Mike's head works faster, he answered. The concussion of a 100-ton mass on Terra approaches the yield of a 2-kiloton atomic bomb. Kilo is 1,000, Wyo murmured. And mega is 1,000,000. Why, that's only 1/50,000th as much as a 100-megaton bomb. Was not the size Soviet Union used? Wyo, honey, I said gently, that's not how it works. Turn it around. 2-kiloton yield is equivalent to exploding 2 million kilograms of trinitrotoluol. And a kilo of TNT is quite an explosion. Ask a drill man. 2 million kilos will wipe out good-sized town. Check, Mike. Yes, man. But why, oh, my only female friend, there is another aspect. Multi-megaton fusion bombs are insufficient. The explosion takes place in too small a space. Most of it is wasted. While a 100-ton megaton bomb is rated as having 50,000 times the yield of a 2-kiloton bomb, its destructive effect is only about 1,300 times as great as that of a 2-kiloton explosion. But it seems to me that 1,300 times is still quite a lot if you're going to use bombs on us that much bigger. True, I owe my female friend, but Luna has many rocks. Oh, yes, so we have. Comrades, said Prof, this is outside my competence. In my younger or bomb-throwing days, my experience was limited to something of the order of the 1-kilogram chemical explosion of which you spoke, Manuel. But I assume that you two know what you are talking about. We do, Mike agreed. So I accept your figures. To bring it down to a scale that I can understand, this plan requires that we capture the catapult. No. Yes. Mike and I chorused. Not impossible. Then we must hold it and keep it operative. Mike, have you considered how your catapult can be protected against, let us say, one small H-tipped torpedo? Discussion went on and on. We stopped to eat. Stopped business under Prof's rule. Instead, Mike told jokes. Each produce day, that reminds me, from Prof. By the time we left Raffles Hotel, evening of 14th May, 75, Mike had, with help from Prof, outlined plan of revolution, including major options at critical points. When came time to go, me to home and Prof to evening class, if not arrested, then home for bath and clothes, and necessities in case he returned that night, became clear Wyo did not want to be alone in strange hotel. Wyo was stopped when bets were down, between times, soft and vulnerable. So I called Mom on a Sherlock and told her I was bringing house guest home. Mom ran her job with style. Any spouse could bring guest home for meal or year, and our second generation was almost as free, but must ask. Don't know how other families work. We have customs firmed by a century. They suit us. So Mom didn't ask name, age, sex, marital condition. Was my right, and she too proud to ask. All she said was, "That's nice, dear. Have you two had dinner? It's Tuesday, you know." Tuesday was to remind me that our family had eaten early because Greg preaches Tuesday evenings. But if guests had not eaten, dinner would be served. Concession to guest, not to me. As with the exception of Grandpa, we ate when it was on table, or scrounged standing up in pantry. I assured her we had eaten, and would make tall effort to be there before she needed to leave. Despite loony mixture of Muslims, Jews, Christians, Buddhists, and 99 other flavors, I suppose Sunday is communist day for church. But Greg belongs to sect that had calculated that sundown Tuesday to sundown Wednesday, local time Garden of Eden, zone -2, Terra, was the Sabbath. So we ate early in Terran, Northern Hemisphere summer months. Mom always went to hear Greg preach, so it was not considerate to place duty on her that would clash. All of us went occasionally. I managed several times a year because terribly fond of Greg, who taught me one trade and helped me switch to another when I had to, and would gladly have made it his arm rather than mine. But Mom always went. Ritual, not religion, for she admitted to me one night in pillow talk that she had no religion with a brand on it, then cautioned me not to tell Greg. I exacted same caution from her. I don't know who is cranking. I'm pleased he doesn't stop. But Greg was Mom's boy husband, opted when she was very young, first wedding after her own, very sentimental about him, would deny fiercely if accused of loving him more than other husbands, yet took his faith when he was ordained and never missed a Tuesday. She said, "Is it possible that your guest would wish to attend church?" I said would see, but anyhow we would rush, and said goodbye. Then banged on bathroom door and said, "Hurry, whiskey and Wyo, we're short on minutes." 1 minute, she called out. She's a girlish girl, She appeared in 1 minute. "How do I look?" she asked. "Prof, will I pass?" "Dear Wyoming, I am amazed. You were beautiful before, you are beautiful now, but utterly unrecognizable. You're safe, and I am relieved." Then we waited for Prof to transform into old derelict. He would beat to his back corridor, then reappear as well-known teacher in front of class, to have witnesses in case a yellow boy was waiting to grab him. He left a moment. I told Lyle about Greg. She said, "Nanny, how good is this makeup? Would it pass in church? How bright are the lights?" "No brighter than here. Good job. You'll get by. But do you want to go to church? Nobody pushing." She thought. "It would please your mother, your senior wife, would it not?" I answered slowly. "Lyle, religion is your pigeon. But since you ask, yes, nothing would start you better in Davis family than going to church with Mom. I'll go if you do." "I'll go. I thought your last name was O'Kelly." "Is. Tack Davis on with hyphen if you want to be formal. Davis is first husband, dead 50 years. His family name, and all our wives are Gospoja Davis hyphened, with every male name in Davis line plus her family name. In practice, Mom is only Gospoja Davis. Can call her that. And others use first name and add Davis if they write a check or something. Except that Ludmilla is Davis Davis, because proud of double membership, birth and option." "I see. Then if a man is John Davis, he's a son. But if he has some other last name, he's your co-husband. But a girl would be Jenny Davis either way, wouldn't she? How do I tell? By her age? No, that wouldn't help. I'm confused, and I thought clan marriages were complex. Or polyandries. But mine wasn't. At least my husband's had the same last name. No trouble. When you hear a woman about 40 address a 15-year-old as Mama Milla, you'll know which is wife and which is daughter. Not even that complex, as we don't have daughters home past husband high. They get opted, but might be visiting. Your husbands were named not. Oh no, Phyllis Eve, Choi Lin, and Choi Moo. I took back my born name. Out came Prof, cackled Sinelli. Looked even worse than earlier. We left by 3 exits, made rendezvous in main corridor, open formation. Lyle and I did not walk together, as I might be nabbed. On other hand, she did not love Lunar City. A warren so complex, even native born get lost. So I led, and she had to keep me in sight. Croft trailed to make sure she didn't lose me. If I was picked up, Lyle would find public phone. Report to Mike, then return to hotel and wait for Prof. But I felt sure that any yellow jacket who arrested me would get a caress from number 7 arm. No, ho-ho. Up to level 5 and cross down by Carver Causeway. Up to level 3 and stop at Tube Station West to pick up arms and toolkit. But not pea suit. Would not have been in character. I stored it there. One yellow uniform at station showed no interest in me. South by well-lighted corridors until necessary to go outward to reach private easement Lock 13, the co-op pressure tunnel serving Davis tunnels and a dozen other farms. I suppose Prof dropped off there, but I never looked back. I delayed locking through our door until Lyle caught up, then soon was saying, "Mom, allow me to present Lima Beth Johnson." Mom took her in arms, kissed cheek, said, "So glad you could come. Why, my dear, our house is yours." See why I love our old Betty. Could have quick thrusted Lyle with same words, but was real, and Lyle knew. Hadn't warned Lyle about switching names. Thought of it en route. Some of our kids were small, and while they grew up despising Warden, no sense in risking prattle about Wyoming Nut who's visiting us. That name was listed in Special File Zebra. So, I missed warning her. Was new to conspiracy. But Lyle got cue, and never bobbled. Greg was in preaching clothes, and would have to leave in minutes. Mom did not hurry, took Lyle down line of husbands. Grandpa, Greg, Hans. then our line of wives. Ludmilla, Lenore, Cedrus, Anna, with stately grace, then started on our kids. I said, Mom, excuse me, want to change arms? Her eyebrows went up a millimeter, meaning, we'll speak of this, but not in front of children. So I added, no, it's late. Greg's sneaking look at watch, and Wanda and I are going to church, so excuse, please. She relaxed. Certainly, dear. As she turned away, I saw her arm go around Lyle's waist, so I relaxed. I changed arms, replacing number 7 with social arm. I was excused to duck into phone cupboard and punch Mycroft XXX. Mike, we're home, but about to go to church. Don't think you can listen there, so I'll check in later. Heard from Prof? Not yet, man. Which church is it? I may have some circuit. Pillar of Fire Repentance Tabernacle. No reference. Slow to my speed, pal. Meets in West 3 Community Hall. That's south of station on ring about number... I have it. There's a pickup inside for channels and a phone in the corridor outside. I'll keep an ear on both. I don't expect trouble, Mike. It's what Professor said to do. He is reporting now. Do you wish to speak to him? No time. Bye. That set pattern. Always keep in touch with Mike. Let him know where you are, where you plan to be. Mike would listen if he had nerve ends there. Discovery I made that morning, that Mike could listen at that phone. Suggested it. Discovery bothered me. Don't believe in magic. But on thinking, I realized the phone could be switched on by central switching system without human intervention. His switching system had volition. Mike had bossy volition. How Mike knew a phone was outside that hall is hard to say, since space could not mean to him what means to us. But he carried in storage a map, structure relations of Luna City's engineering, and could almost always fit what we said to what he knew as Luna City. Hardly ever got lost. So from day Cabal started, we kept in touch with Mike and each other through his widespread nervous system. Won't mention again unless necessary. Mom and Greg and Wyo were waiting at the other door. Mom chomping but smiling. I saw she had lent Wyo a stole. Mom was as easy about skin as any loony. Nothing no chummish. But church was another matter. We made it, although Greg went straight to platform and we to seats. I settled in warm, mindless state, going through motions. But Wyo did really listen to Greg's sermon, and either knew our hymn book or was accomplished sight reader. When we got home, young ones were in bed, and most adults. Hans and Cedrus were up, and Cedrus served cocoa soy and cookies. Then all turned in. Mom assigned Wyo a room in tunnel most of our kids lived in. One which had 2 smaller boys last time I noticed. Did not ask how she had reshuffled. Was clear she was giving my guess best we had, or would have put Wyo with one of older girls. I slept with Mom that night, partly because our senior wife is good for nerves, and nerve-wracking things had happened, and partly so she would know I was not sneaking to Wyo's room after things were quiet. My workshop, where I slept when slept alone, was just one bend from Wyo's door. Mom was telling me, plain as print, "Go ahead, dear. Don't tell me if you wish to be mean about it. Sneak behind my back." Which neither of us admitted. We visited as we got ready for bed, chatted after light out. Then I turned over. Instead of saying good night, Mom said, "Manuel, why does your sweet little guest make herself up as an afro? I would think that her natural coloration would be more becoming. Not that she isn't perfectly charming the way she chooses to be." So, rolled over and faced her, and explained. Sounded thin, so filled in, and found self telling all, except one point. Mike. I included Mike, but not as computer. Instead, as a man Mom was not likely to meet, for security reasons. But telling Mom, taking her into my sub-cell, should say, to become leader of own cell in turn. Taking Mom into conspiracy was not case of husband who can't keep from blurting everything to his wife. At most was hasty, but was best time if she was to be told. Mom was smart. Also able executive. Running big family without baring teeth requires that. Was respected among farm families and throughout Luna City. She had been up longer than 90%. She could help. And would be indispensable inside family. Without her help, Lyle and I would find it sticky to use phone together. Hard to explain. Keep kids from noticing. Impossible. But with Mom's help, would be no problems inside household. She listened. Sighed. Said, "It sounds dangerous, dear." "It is," I said. "Look, Mimi, if you don't want to tackle, say so. Then forget what I've told." "Manuel, don't even say that. You are my husband, dear. I took you for better, for worse. And your wish is my command." My word. Huh. What a lie. But Mimi believed it. "I would not let you go into danger alone," she went on. "And besides..." "What, Mimi?" "I think every loony dreams of the day when we will be free. All but some poor spineless rats. I've never talked about it. There seemed to be no point, and it's necessary to look up, not down. Lift one's burden and go ahead. But I thank dear Bog that I have been permitted to live to see the time come, if indeed it has. Explain more about it. I am to find 3 others, is it? 3 who can be trusted? Don't hurry. Move slowly. Be sure. Citrus can be trusted. She holds her tongue, that one. Don't think you should pick from family. Need to spread out. Don't rush. I shan't. We'll talk before I do anything. And Manuel, if you want my opinion. She stopped. Always want your opinion, Mimi. Don't mention this to Grandpa. He's forgetful these days and sometimes talkative. Now sleep, dear. And don't dream. 9. Followed a long time during which would have been possible to forget anything as unlikely as revolution, had not the tales taken so much time. Our first purpose was not to be noticed. Long-distance purpose was to make things as much worse as possible. Yes, worse. Never was a time, even at last, when all loonies wanted to throw off authority. Wanted it bad enough to revolt. All loonies despised Warden and cheated authority. Didn't mean they were ready to fight and die. If you had mentioned patriotism to Lonnie, he would have stared, or thought you were talking about his homeland. We transported Frenchmen whose hearts belonged to La Belle Patrie, ex-Germans loyal to Vaterland, Ruskies who still loved Holy Mother Russia. But Luna was the rock, place of exile, nothing to love. We were as non-political a people as history ever produced. I know, I was as numb to politics as any until circumstances pitched me into it. Wyoming was in it because she hated authority for a personal reason. Prof, because he despised all authority in a detached, intellectual fashion. Mike, because he was a bored and lonely machine, and was for him only game in town. You could not have accused us of patriotism. I came closest because I was 3rd generation with total lack of affection for any place on Terra. Had been there, disliked it, and despised earthworms. Made me more patriotic than most. Average loony was interested in beer, betting, women, and work in that order. Women might be 2nd place, but 1st was unlikely, much as women were cherished. Loonies had learned there never were enough women to go around. Slow learners died, as even most possessive male can't stay alert every minute. As Prof says, a society adapts to fact, or doesn't survive. Loonies adapted to harsh facts, or failed and died. But patriotism was not necessary to survival. Like old Chinese saying that fish aren't aware of water, I was not aware of any of this until I first went to Terra, and even then did not realize what a blank spot was in Looney's under storage location marked patriotism, until I took part in the effort to stir them up. Wyo and her comrades had tried to push patriotism button, and got nowhere. Years of work, a few thousand numbers, less than 1% of that microscopic number, almost 10%, had been paid spies of Boss Fink. Proof set us straight. Easier to get people to hate than to get them to love. Luckily, Security Chief Alvarez gave us a hand. Those 9 dead Finks were replaced with 90, for authority was gulled into something it did reluctantly, namely, spend money on us. And one folly led to another. Warden's bodyguard had never been large, even in earliest days. Prison guards in historical meaning were unnecessary, and it had been one attraction of penal colony's system. Cheap. Warden and his deputy had to be protected, and visiting VIPs. But prison itself needed no guards. They even stopped guarding ships after it became clear it was not necessary. And in May 2075, bodyguard was down to its cheapest numbers. All of them new chum transportees. But loss of 9 in one night scared somebody. We knew it scared Alvarez. He found copies of his demands for help in Zebra file, and Mike read them. A lad who had been a police officer on Terra before his conviction, and then a bodyguard all his years in Luna. Alvarez was probably the most frightened and loneliest man in the Rock. He demanded more and tougher help, threatened to resign civil service job if he didn't get it. Just a threat, which authority would have known if it had really known Luna. If Alvarez had shown up in any warrant as unarmed civilian, he would have stayed breathing only as long as not recognized. He got his additional guards. We never found out who ordered that raid. Mort, the Wart, had never shown such tendencies. Had been King Log throughout tenure. Perhaps Alvarez, having only recently succeeded to boss Fink spot, wanted to make face. May have had ambition to be warden. But likeliest theory is that Warden's report on subversive activities caused authority Earthside to order a cleanup. One thumb-fingered mistake led to another. No bodyguards, instead of picking from new transportees, were elite convict troops. Federated nations, crack, peace dragoons. Were mean and tough, did not want to go to Luna, and soon realized that temporary police duty was a one-way trip. Hated Luna and Loonies, and saw us as cause of it all. Once Alvarez got them, he posted a 24-hour watch at every interwarrant tube station, and instituted passports and passport control. Would have been illegal had there been laws in Luna, since 95% of us were theoretically free, either born free or sentence completed. Percentage was higher in cities, as undischarged transportees lived in barrack warrants, a complex, and came into town only 2 days per Luna they had off work. If then, as they had no money, but sometimes saw them wandering around, hoping somebody would buy a drink. But passport system was not illegal, as Warden's regulations were only written law. Was announced in papers. We were given a week to get passports. And at 800 one morning was put in effect. Some Loonies hardly ever traveled. Some traveled on business. Some commuted from outlying warrants, or even from Luna City to Novelin, or other way. Good little boys filled out applications. Paid fees, were photographed, got passes. I was good little boy on proof's advice. Paid for passport, and added it to pass I carried to work in complex. Few good little boys. Loonies did not believe it. Passports, whoever heard of such a thing? Was a trooper in Tube Station South that morning dressed in bodyguard yellow, rather than regimentals, and looked like he hated it and us. I was not going anywhere. I hung back and watched. No drilling capsule was announced. Crowd of 30-odd headed for gate. Gosbert in yellow jacket demanded passport the first to reach it. Looney stopped to argue. Second one pushed past. Guard turned and yelled. 3 or 4 more shoved past. Guard reached for sidearm. Somebody grabbed his elbow. Gun went off. Not a laser, a slug gun. noisy. Slug hit decking and went whee whee whoo off somewhere. I faded back. One man hurt. That guard. When first press of passengers had gone down ramp, he was on deck, not moving. Nobody paid attention. They walked around or stepped over, except one woman carrying a baby, who stopped, kicked him carefully in face, then went down ramp. He may have been dead already. Didn't wait to see. Understand bodies stayed there till relief arrived. Next day was a half squad in that spot. Capture for Novelin left empty. It settled down. Those who had to travel got passports. Diehards quit traveling. Guard at the tube gate became 2 men. One looked at passports, while others stood back, with gun drawn. One who checked passports did not try hard, which was well, as most were counterfeit and early ones were crude. But before long, authentic paper was stolen, and counterfeits were as dinkum as official ones. More expensive, but loonies preferred free enterprise passports. Our organization did not make counterfeits. We merely encouraged it. And knew who had them, and who did not. Mike's records listed officially issued ones. This helped separate sheep from goats in files we were building. Also stored in Mike, but in Bastille location, as we figured a man with counterfeit passport was halfway to joining us. Word was passed down sales in our growing organization never to recruit anybody with a valid passport. If recruiter was not certain, just query upwards, and answer came back. But guards' troubles were not over. Does not help a guard's dignity, nor add to peace of mind to have children stand in front of him, or behind, out of eye, which was worse, and ape every move he makes, or run back and forth screaming obscenities, jeering, making finger motions that are universal. At least guards took them as insults. One guard backhanded a small boy, cost him some teeth. Result, 2 guards dead, 1 loony dead. After that, guards ignore children. We didn't have to work this out, we merely encouraged it. You wouldn't think that a sweet old lady like my senior wife would encourage children to misbehave, but she did. Other things get single men a long way from home upset, and one we did start. These peace dragoons had been sent to the Rock without a comfort detachment. Some of our femmes were extremely beautiful, and some started loitering around stations, dressed in less than usual, which could approach 0, and wearing more than usual amount of perfume, scents with range and striking power. They did not speak to yellow jackets nor look at them. They simply crossed their line of sight, undulating as only a loony gal can. A female on Terra can't walk that way. She's tied down by 6 times too much weight. Such, of course, produces a male gallery, from men down to lads not yet pubescent. Happy whistles and cheers for her beauty. Nasty laughs at yellow boy. First girls to take this duty were slot machine types, but volunteers sprang up so fast that Proof decided we need not spend money. He was correct. Even Ludmilla, shy as a kitten, wanted to try it, and did not, only because Mom told her not to. But Lenore, 10 years older and prettiest of our family, did try it, and Mom did not scold. She came back pink and excited and pleased with herself, and anxious to tease Enemy again. Her own idea. Lenore did not then know that revolution was brewing. During this time I rarely saw Proof, and never in public. We kept touch by phone. At first a bottleneck was that our farm had just one phone for 25 people, many of them youngsters who would tie up a phone for hours unless coerced. Mimi was strict. Our kids were allowed 1 outgoing call per day, and max of 90 seconds on a call, with rising scale of punishment, tempered by her warmth in granting exceptions. But grants were accompanied by Mom's phone lecture. When I first came to Luna, there were no private phones. You children don't know how soft. We were one of the last prosperous families to install a phone. It was new in household when I was opted. We were prosperous because we never bought anything farm could not produce. Mom disliked phone because rates at Luna City Co-op Com Company were passed on in large measure to authority. She never could understand why I could not. Since you know all about such things, then well, dear, steal phone service as easily as we liberated power. That a phone instrument was part of a switching system into which it must fit was no interest to her. Steal it, I did, eventually. Problem with illicit phone is how to receive incoming calls. Since phone is not listed, even if you tell persons from whom you want calls, switching system itself does not have you listed. Is no signal that can tell it to connect other party with you. Once Mike joined conspiracy, switching was no problem. I had in workshop most of what I needed, bought some items and liberated others. Drill a tiny hole from workshop to phone cupboard and another to wireless room. Virgin rock a meter thick, but a laser drill collimated to a thin pencil cuts rapidly. I unship listed phone, made a wireless coupling to line in its recess and concealed it. All else needed were binaural receptors and a speaker in wireless room, concealed, and same in mine, and a circuit to raise frequency above audio to have silence on Davis' phone line, and its converse to restore audio incoming. Only problem was to do this without being seen, and Mom generaled that. All else was Mike's problem. Used no switching arrangements. From then on, used Mycroft XXX only when calling from some other phone. Mike listened at all times in workshop and in wireless room. If he heard my voice or her say, "Mike," he answered, but not to other voices. Voice patterns were as distinctive to him as fingerprints. He never made mistakes. Minor flourishes. Soundproofing wireless doors such as workshop door already had. Switching to suppress my instrument or hers. Signals to tell me she was alone in her room and door locked, and vice versa. All added up to safe means whereby Wyo and I could talk with Mike, or with each other, or could set up talk of Mike, Wyo, Prof, and self. Mike would call Prof wherever he was. Prof would talk or call back from a more private phone, or might be Wyo or myself had to be found. We all were careful to stay checked in with Mike. My bootleg phone, though it had no way to punch a call, could be used to call any number in Luna. Speak to Mike, ask for a Sherlock to anybody, not tell him number. Mike had all listings and could look up a number faster than I could. We were beginning to see unlimited possibilities in a phone switching system, alive and on our side. I got from Mike and gave Mom still another null number to call Mike if she needed to reach me. She grew chummy with Mike, while continuing to think he was a man. This spread throughout our family. One day as I returned home, Sidra said, "Manny, darling, your friend with the nice voice called Mike Holmes wants you to call back." "Thanks, hon. Will." "When are you going to invite him to dinner, man? I think he's nice." I told her Господин Holmes had bad breath, was covered with rank hair, and hated women. She used a rude word, Mom not being in earshot. "You're afraid to let me see him. Afraid I'll opt out for him." I patted her and told her that was why. I told Mike and Prof about it. Mike flirted even more with my womenfolk after that. Prof was thoughtful. I began to learn techniques of conspiracy, and to appreciate Prof's feeling that revolution could be an art. Did not forget, nor ever doubt, Mike's prediction that Luna was only 7 years from disaster, but did not think about it. Thought about fascinating, finicky details. Prof had emphasized that stickiest problems in conspiracy are communications and security, and had pointed out that they conflict. Easier are communications, greater is risk to security. If security is tight, organization can be paralyzed by safety precautions. He had explained that cell system was a compromise. I accepted cell system, since it was necessary to limit losses from spies. Even Wyo admitted that organization without compartmentation could not work after she learned how rotten the spies' old underground had been. But I did not like clogged communications of cell system. Like Terran dinosaurs of old, took too long to send message from head to tail or back. So talked with Mike. We discarded many linked channels. I had suggested to Proof. We retained cells but based security and communication on marvelous possibilities of our dinkum-thinkum. Communications. We set up a ternary tree of party names. Chairman, Господин Adam Celine, Mike. Executive cell, Bork, me, Betty, Lyle, Bill, Proof. Bork's cell, Cassie, Mom, Colin, Chang. Betty's cell, Calvin, Greg, Cecilia, Cedrus, Clayton. Bill's cell, Cornwall, Finn Nielsen, Carolyn, Cotter, and so on. At 7th link, George supervises Herbert, Henry, and Hallie. By the time you reach that level, you need 2,187 names with H. But turn it over to a savvy computer who finds or invents them. Each recruit is given a party name and an emergency phone number. This number, instead of chasing through many links, connects with Adam Celine. Mike. Security, based on double principle. No human being can be trusted with anything, but Mike could be trusted with everything. Grim first staff is beyond dispute. With drugs and other unsavory methods, any man can be broken. Only defense is suicide, which may be impossible. Oh, our hollow tooth methods, classic and novel, some nearly infallible. Prof saw to it that Wyo and myself were equipped. Never knew what he gave her as a final friend, and since I never had to use mine, is no point in messy details. Nor am I sure I would ever suicide. Am not stuff of martyrs. But Mike could never need to suicide. Could not be drugged. Did not feel pain. He carried everything concerning us in a separate memory bank, under a locked signal programmed only to our three voices, and, since flesh is weak, we added a signal under which any of us could lock out other two in emergency. In my opinion, as best computer man in Luna, Mike could not remove this lock once it was set up. Best of all, nobody would ask Master Computer for this file because nobody knew it existed. Did not suspect Mike as Mike existed. How secure can you be, huh? Only risk was that this awakened machine was whimsical. Mike was always showing unforeseen potentials. Conceivable, he could figure out way to get around lock, if he wanted to. But would never want to. He was loyal to me, first and oldest friend. He liked Prof. I think he loved Wyo. No, sex meant nothing. But Wyo is lovable, and they hit it off from start. I trusted Mike. In this life you have to bet. On that bet, I would give any odds. So, we based security on trusting Mike with everything while each of us knew only what he had to know. Take that tree of names and numbers. I knew only party names of my cellmates, and the three directly under me was all I needed. Mike set up party names, assigned phone number to each, kept roster of real names versus party names. Let's say party member Daniel, whom I would not know being a D 2 levels below me, recruits Fritz Schultz. Daniel reports fact, but not name upwards. Adam Celine calls Daniel, assigns for Schultz party name Embrook. Then phones Schultz at number received from Daniel. Gives Schultz his name Embrook, an emergency phone number. This number being different for each recruit. Not even Embrook's cell leader would know Embrook's emergency number. What you do not know, you cannot spill. Not under drugs, no torture, nor anything. Not even from carelessness. Now let's suppose I need to reach Comrade Embrook. I don't know who he is. He may live in Hong Kong, or be a shopkeeper nearest my home. Instead of passing message down, hoping it will reach him, I call Mike. Mike connects me with Embrook at once, in a Sherlock, without giving me his number. Or suppose I need to speak to Comrade who is preparing cartoon we're about to distribute in every tap room in Luna. I don't know who he is, but I need to talk to him. Something has come up. I call Mike. Mike knows everything, and again I am quickly connected, and his comrade knows it's okay as Adam Celine arranged call. Comrade Bork speaking, and he doesn't know me, but initial B tells him that I am VIP indeed. We have to change so-and-so. Tell your cell leader and have him check, but get on with it. Minor flourishes. Some comrades did not have phones. Some could be reached only at certain hours. Some outlying wards did not have phone service. No matter. Mike knew everything, and the rest of us did not know anything that could endanger any but that handful whom each knew face to face. After we decided that Mike should talk voice to voice to any comrade under some circumstances, it was necessary to give him more voices and dress him up, make him 3 dimensions, create Adam Celine, chairman of the Presidential Committee of Free Luna. Mike's need for more voices lay in fact that he had just one vote of vocoder, whereas his brain could handle 12 conversations, or 100, don't know how many, like a chess master playing 50 opponents, only more so. This would cause a bottleneck as organization grew, and Adam Celine was phoned oftener, and could be crucial if we lasted long enough to go into action. Besides giving him more voices, I wanted to silence what he had. One of those so-called computer men might walk into Machine's room while we were phoning Mike, bound to cause even his dim wit to wonder if he found Master Machine apparently talking to itself. Vocoder is a very old device. Human voice is buzzes and hisses, mixed various ways, through even of a color to a soprano. A vocoder analyzes buzzes and hisses into patterns. One, a computer, or trained eye can read. A voter is a little box which can buzz and hiss and has controls to vary these elements to match those patterns. A human can play a voter, producing artificial speech. A properly programmed computer can do it as fast, as easily, as clearly as you can speak. But voices on a phone wire are not sound waves, but electrical signals. Mike did not need audio part of vocoder to talk by phone. Sound waves were needed only by human at other end. No need for speech sounds inside Mike's room at Authority Complex. So I planned to remove them, and thereby any danger that somebody might notice. First, I worked at home, using number 3 arm most of time. Result was very small blocks, which sandwiched 20 vocoder circuits minus audio side. Then I called Mike and told him to get ill in a way that would annoy Warden. Then I waited. We had done this get ill trick before. I went back to work once I learned that I was clear, which was Thursday, that same week when Alvarez ran into Zebra file an account of shambles at Stiliagi Hall. His version listed about 100 people, out of perhaps 300. List included Shorty McCrum, Lyo, Prof, and Finn Nielsen, but not me. Apparently I was missed by his Sphinx. It told how 9 police officers, each deputized by a warden to preserve peace, had been shot down in cold blood, also named 3 of our dead. An add-on a week later stated that the notorious agent provocateur Wyoming knot of Hong Kong in Luna, whose incendiary speech on Monday, 13th May, had incited the riot that cost the lives of 9 brave officers, had not been apprehended in Luna City, and had not returned to her usual haunts in Hong Kong in Luna, and was now believed to have died in the massacre she herself set off. This add-on admitted what earlier report failed to mention, i.e., bodies were missing, an exact number of dead was not known. This PS settled 2 things. Lyle could not go home, nor back to being a blonde. Since I had not been spotted, I resumed my public ways, took care of customers that week, bookkeeping machines and retrieval files at Carnegie Library, and spent time having Mike read out Zebra file and other special files, doing so in room L of Raffles, as I did not yet have my own phone. During that week, Mike niggled at me like an impatient child, which he was, wanted to know when I was coming over to pick up more jokes. Failing that, he wanted to tell them by phone. I got annoyed, and had to remind myself that from Mike's viewpoint, analyzing jokes was just as important as freeing Luna. And you don't break promises to a child. Besides that, I got itchy wondering whether I could go inside Complex without being nabbed. We knew Prof was not clear, was sleeping in raffles under the count. Yet they knew he had been at meeting, and knew where he was daily. But no attempt was made to pick him up. When we learned that attempt had been made to pick up Lyo, I grew itchier. Was I clear? Or were they waiting to nab me quietly? Had to know. So I called Mike and told him to have a tummy ache. He did so. I was called in. No trouble. Aside from showing passport at station, then to a new guard at Complex, all was usual. I chatted with Mike, picked up 1,000 jokes, with understanding that we would report 100 at a time every 3 or 4 days, no faster. Told him to get well, and went back to L City, stopping on way out to build chief engineer for working time, travel and tool time, materials, special service, anything I could load in. Thereafter, saw Mike about once a month. Was safe. Never went there except when they called me for malfunction beyond the ability of their staff. And I was always able to repair it. Sometimes quickly, sometimes after a full day and many tests. Was careful to leave tool marks on cover plates, and had before and after printouts of tests run to show what had been wrong, how I analyzed it, what I had done. Mike always worked perfectly after one of my visits. I was indispensable. So, after I prepared his new vocoder add-on, didn't hesitate to tell him to get ill. Call came in 30 minutes. Mike had thought up a dandy. His illness was wild oscillations in conditioning Warden's residence. He was running its heat up, then down, on an 11-minute cycle, while oscillating its air pressure on a short cycle, ca 2 cycles per second, enough to make a man dreadfully nervy, and perhaps cause earache. Conditioning a single residence should not go through a master computer. In Davis tunnels, we handle home and farm with idiot controls. Feedbacks for each cubic, with alarms so that somebody could climb out of bed and control by hand until trouble could be found. If cows got chilly, did not hurt corn. If lights failed over wheat, vegetables were okay. That night could raise hell with Warden's residence, and nobody could figure out what to do. Show silliness of piling everything into one computer. Mike was happy, joyed. This was humor he really scanned. I enjoyed it too. Told him to go ahead, have fun, spread out tools, got out little black box. A computer man of the watch comes banging and ringing at door. I took my time answering, and carried number 5 arm in right hand with short wing bear. This makes some people sick and upsets almost everybody. What in hell do you want, chum? I inquired. Listen, he says. Warden is raising hell. Haven't you found trouble? My compliments to Warden and tell him I will override by hand to restore his precious comfort as soon as I locate faulty circuit. If not slowed up by silly questions. Are you going to stand with door open blowing dust into machines while I have cover plates off? If you do, since you were in charge, when dust puts machines on sputter, you can repair it. I won't leave a warm bed to help. You can tell that to your bloody Warden too. What's your language, cobber? What's yours, convict? Are you going to close that door, or shall I walk out and go back to L City? And raise number 5 like a club. He closed door. Had no interest in insulting poor sod. Was one small bit of policy to make everybody as unhappy as possible. He was finding working for Warden difficult. I wanted to make it unbearable. Shall I step it up? Mike inquired. Hold it so for 10 minutes, then stop abruptly. Then jog it for an hour, say with air pressure. Erratic but hard. Know what a sonic boom is? Certainly. It is a... Don't define. After you drop major effect, rattle his air ducts every few minutes with nearest to a boom system will produce. Then give him something to remember. Mike, can you make his WC run backwards? I surely can. All of them. How many does he have? 6. Well, program to give them all a push, enough to soak his rugs. But if you can spot one nearest his bedroom, fountain it clear to ceiling. Can. Program set up. Good. Now for your present, Ducky. There was room in voter audio box to hide it, and I spent 40 minutes with number 3, getting it just so. We trail checked it through voter vocoder. Then I told him to call Weil and check each circuit. For 10 minutes was silence, which I spent putting tool marks on a cover plate, which should have been removed had anything been wrong, putting tools away, putting number 6 arm on, rolling up 1,000 jokes, waiting in printout. I had found no need to cut off audio of voter. Mike had thought of it before I had, and always chopped off any time door was touched. Since his reflexes were better than mine by a factor of at least 1,000, I forgot it. At last he said, all 20 circuits are okay. I can switch circuits in the middle of a word, and YO can't detect discontinuity. And I called Prof and said hello, and talked to Mom on your home phone, all 3 at the same time. We're in business. What excuse you give, Mom? I asked her to have you call me, Adam Celine, that is. Then we chatted. She's a charming conversationalist. We discussed Greg's sermon of last Tuesday. Huh? How? I told her I had listened to it, man, and quoted a poetic part. Oh, Mike. It's okay, man. I let her think I sat in back, then slipped out during the closing hymn. She's not nosy. She knows that I don't want to be seen. Mom is nosiest female in Luna. Guess it's okay. But don't do it again. Do it again. You monitor meetings and lectures and concerts and stuff. Unless some busybody switches me off by hand, man, I can't control those spot pickups the way I do a phone. The simplest switch, brood muscle rather than solid state flip-flop. That's barbaric and unfair. Like almost everything is unfair. What can't be cured must be endured. That's a funny once, man. Sorry, let's change it. What can't be cured should be tossed out and something better put in. Which will do. What chance is last time you calculated? Approximately 1 in 9, man. Getting worse. Man, they'll get worse for months. We haven't reached the crisis. With Yankees in cellar, too. Oh well. Back to other matter. From now on, when you talk to anyone, if he's been to a lecture or whatever, you were there too, and prove it by recalling something. Noted. Why, man? Have you read The Scarlet Pimpernel? Maybe in public library. Yes. Shall I read it back? No. You're our Scarlet Pimpernel, our John Galt, our Swamp Fox, our man of mystery. You go everywhere, know everything, slip in and out of town without passport. You're always there, yet nobody catches sight of you. His lights rippled. He gave a subdued chuckle. That's funny, man. Funny once, funny twice, maybe funny always. Funny always. How long ago did you stop Gymkhana at Warden's? 43 minutes ago, except erratic booms. Bet his teeth ache. Give him 15 minutes more, then I'll report job completed. Noted. YO sent you a message, man. She said to remind you of Billy's birthday party. Oh, my word. Stop everything, I'm leaving, bye. I hurried out. Billy's mother is Anna. Probably her last. And, right well, she's done by us. 8 kids. 3 still home. I tried to be as careful as Mom, never to show favoritism. But Billy is quite a boy, and I taught him to read. Possibly he looks like me. Stopped at Chief Engineer's office to leave Bill and the man to see him. Was let in and he was in belligerent mood. Warden had been riding him. Hold it, I told him. My son's birthday, and shan't be late, but must show you something. Took an envelope from Kit, dumped item on desk. corpse of housefly which I charred with a hot wire and fetched. We do not tolerate flies in Davis tunnels, but sometimes one wanders in from city as locks are opened. This wound up in my workshop just when I needed it. See that? Guess where I found it? On that faked evidence, I built a lecture on care of fine machines. Talked about doors opened. Complained about man on watch. Dust can ruin a computer. Insects are unpardonable. Yet their watchstanders wander in and out as if tube station. Today both doors held open while this idiot yammered. If I find more evidence that cover plates have been removed by hoof-handed chum who attracts flies, well, it's your plan, Chief. Got more than I can handle. Been doing your chores because I like fine machines. Can't stand to see them abused. Goodbye. Hold on. I want to tell you something. Sorry, got to go. Take it or leave it. I'm no vermin exterminator. I'm a computer man. Nothing frustrates a man so much as not letting him get in his say. With luck and help from Morton, chief engineer would have ulcers by Christmas. Was late anyhow, and made humble apology to Billy. Alvarez had thought up new wrinkle. Close search on leaving complex. I endured it with never a nasty word for dragoons who searched me. Wanted to get home. But those 1,000 jokes bothered them. What's this? One demanded. Computer paper, I said. Test runs. His mate joined him. Don't think they could read. They wanted to confiscate, so I demanded they call chief engineer. They let me go. I felt not displeased. More and more such, and guards were daily more hated. Decision to make Mike more a person rose from need to have any party member phone him on occasion. My advice about concerts and plays was simply a side effect. Mike's voice over phone had odd quality I had not noticed during time I had visited him only at Complex. When you speak to a man by phone, there is background noise, and you hear him breathe, hear heartbeats, body motion, even though rarely conscious of these. Besides that, even if he speaks under a hush hood, noises get through, enough to fill space, make him a body with surroundings. With Mike, was none of this. By then, Mike's voice was human in timbre and quality, recognizable. He was baritone, had North American accent with Aussie overtones. As Michelle, she had a light soprano with French flavor. Mike's personality grew also. When first I introduced him to Lyle and Proof, he sounded like a pedantic child. In short weeks he flowered, until I visualized a man about my own age. His voice, when he first woke, was blurred and harsh, hardly understandable. Now it was clear, and choice of words and phrasing was consistent. Colloquial to me, scholarly to Proof, gallant to Lyle. Variation one expects of mature adults. But background was dead. Thick silence. So we filled it. Mike needed only hints. He did not make his breathing noisy. Ordinarily, you would not notice. But he would stick in touches. Sorry, Manny. You caught me bathing when the phone sounded. And let one hear hurried breathing. Or, I was eating. I had to swallow. They used such even on me, once he undertook to be a human body. We all put Adam Salim together, talking it over at Raffles. How old he was, what did he look like, married, where did he live, what work, what interests. We decided that Adam was about 40, healthy, vigorous, well-educated, interested in all arts and sciences, and very well grounded in history. A matched chess player, but little time to play. He was married in communist type, a troika in which he was senior husband, 4 children. Wife and junior husband not in politics, so far as we knew. He was ruggedly handsome, with wavy iron-gray hair, and was mixed race. 2nd generation one side, 3rd on other. Was wealthy by loony standards, with interest in Novelin and Kongvale, as well as El City. He kept offices in Luna City, Outer office with 12 people, plus private office staffed by male deputy and female secretary. Why I wanted to know was he bundling with secretary. I told her the switch off was private. Lyle said indignantly that she was not being snoopy. More we tried to create a rounded character. We decided that offices were in Old Dome, 3rd Ramp, South Side, heart of financial district. If you know L City, you recall that in Old Dome some offices have windows, since they can look out over floors of Dome. I wanted this for sound effects. We drew a floor plan, and had that office existed, it would have been between Etna Luna and Greenberg and Company. I used Pound Recorder to pick up sounds at spot. Mike added to it by listening at phones there. Thereafter, when you called Adam Celine, background was not dead. If Ursula, his secretary, took call, it was, "Celine Associates, Luna shall be free." Then she might say, "Will you hold? Cosmogene Celine is on another call." Whereupon you might hear sound of WC, followed by running water, and know that she had told Little White Lie. Or Adam might answer, "Adam Celine here, free Luna. 1 second while I shut off the video." Or Deputy might answer, "This is Albert Greenwalla, Adam Celine's confidential assistant, free Luna. If it's a party matter, as I assume it is, that was your party name you gave. Please don't hesitate. I handle such things for the chairman." Last was a trap, as every comrade was instructed to speak only to Adam Celine. No attempt was made to discipline one who took bait. Instead, his cell captain was warned that his comrade must not be trusted with anything vital. We got echoes. Free Luna, or Luna shall be free, took hold among youngsters, then among solid citizens. First time I heard it, in a business call, I almost swallowed teeth. Then called Mike and asked if this person was party member. Was not. So I recommended that Mike trace down party 3 and see if somebody could recruit him. Most interesting echo was in Zebra file. Adam Celine appeared in Boss Fink's security file less than a lunar after we created him, with notation that this was a cover name for a leader in a new underground. Alvarez's spies did their job on Adam Celine. Over course of months, his Zebra file dossier built up. Male, 34 to 45. Offices, south face of Old Dome. Usually there, 0900 to 1800, Greenwich, except Saturday. But calls are relayed at other hours. Home inside urban pressure, as travel time never exceeds 17 minutes. Children in household. Activities include stock brokerage, farming interests, attends theater, concerts, etc. Probably member Luna City Chess Club and Luna Association Dash. Plays Ricochet, another heavy sports lunch hour. Probably Luna City Athletic Club. Gourmet that watches weight. Remarkable memory plus mathematical ability. Executive type, able to reach decisions quickly. Lana Fink was convinced that he had talked to Adam between acts at the revival of Hamlet by civic players. Alvarez noted the description and matched our picture, all but wavy hair. The thing that drove Alvarez crackers was that phone numbers for Adam were reported, and every time they turned out the wrong numbers. Not nulls. We had run out, and Mike was using any number not in use, and switching numbers anytime new subscribers were assigned ones we had been using. Alvarez tried to trace Celine Associates using a one wrong digit assumption. This we learned because Mike was keeping an ear on Alvarez's office phone and heard the order. Mike used knowledge to play a Mickish prank. Subordinate who made one change digit calls invariably reached Warden's private residence. So Alvarez was called in and chewed by Warden. Couldn't scold Mike, but did warn him it would alert any smart person to the fact that somebody was playing tricks with computer. Mike answered that they were not that smart. Main result of Alvarez's efforts was that each time he got a number for Adam, we located a spy. A new spy, as those we had spotted earlier were never given phone numbers. Instead, they were recruited into a tail-chasing organization where they could inform on each other. But with Alvarez's help, we spotted each new spy almost at once. I think Alvarez became unhappy over spies he was able to hire. 2 disappeared, and our organization, then over 6,000, was never able to find them. Eliminated, I suppose, or died under questioning. Celine Associates was not the only phony company we set up. Lunohoko was much larger, just as phony, and not at all dummy. It had main offices in Hong Kong, branches in Novi Leningrad and Luna City. Eventually employed hundreds of people, most of whom were not party members, and was our most difficult operation. Mike's master plan listed a weary number of problems which had to be solved. One was finance. Another was how to protect Catapult from space attack. Prof considered robbing banks to solve first. Gave it up reluctantly. But eventually we did rob banks, firms, and authority itself. Mike thought of it. Mike and Prof worked it out. At first was not clear to Mike why we needed money. He knew as little about pressure that keeps humans scratching as he knew about sex. Mike handled millions of dollars and could not see any problem. He started by offering to issue an authority check for whatever dollars we wanted. Prof shied in horror. He then explained to Mike hazard in trying to cash a check for, let us say, 10 million authority script dollars drawn on authority. So they undertook to do it. At retail, in many names and places all over Luna. Every bank, firm, shop, agency, including authority, for which Mike did accounting, was tapped for party funds. Was a pyramid swindle based on fact, unknown to me but known to Prof, and latent in Mike's immense knowledge, that most money is simply bookkeeping. Example: multiply by hundreds of many types. My family son Sergey, 18 and a party member, is asked to start account at Commonwealth Shared Risk. He makes deposits and withdrawals. Small errors are made each time. He is credited with more than he deposits. He's debted with less than he withdraws. A few months later, he takes job out of town and transfers account to Tyco under Mutual. Transferred funds are 3 times already inflated account. Most of this he soon draws out in cash and passes to his cell leader. Mike knows amount Sergey should hand over, but since they do not know that Adam Celine and bank's computer bookkeeper are one and same, they have each been instructed to report transaction to Adam. Keep them honest, though scheme was not. Multiply this theft of about 3,000 Hong Kong dollars by hundreds, somewhat like it. I can't describe jiggery pokery Mike used to balance his books while keeping thousands of thefts from showing. But bear in mind that an auditor must assume that machines are honest. He will make test runs to check that machines are working correctly, but will not occur to him that tests prove nothing because machine itself is dishonest. Mike's thefts were never large enough to disturb economy, like half liter of blood. Amount was too small to hurt donor. I can't make up mind who lost. Money was swapped around so many ways. But scheme troubled me. I was brought up to be honest, except with authority. Prof claimed that what was taking place was a mild inflation, offset by the fact that we plowed money back in. But I should remember that Mike had records, and all could be restored after revolution, with ease, since we would no longer be bled in much larger amounts by authority. Told conscience to go to sleep. Was pipsqueak compared to swindles by every government throughout history in financing every war. And is not revolution a war? This money, after passing through many hands, augmented by Mike each time, wound up as senior financing of Lunoho Company. Was a mixed company, mutual and stock. Gentleman adventurer, guarantors, who backed stock, put up that stolen money in own names. Won't discuss bookkeeping this firm used, since Mike ran everything, was not corrupted by any tinge of honesty. Nevertheless, its shares were traded in Hong Kong Luna Exchange and listed in Zurich, London, and New York. Wall Street Journal called it an attractive, high-risk, high-gain investment with novel growth potential. Lunohoko was an engineering and exploitation firm, engaged in many ventures, mostly legitimate. But prime purpose was to build a second catapult, secretly. Operation could not be secret. You can't buy or build a hydrogen fusion power plant for such and not have noticed. SunPower was rejected for obvious reasons. Parts were ordered from Pittsburgh, standard UNIF Calif equipment, and we happily paid their royalties to get top quality. Can't buy a stator for a kilometers-long induction field without having it noticed, either. But most important, you cannot do major construction hiring many people and not have it show. Sure, catapults are mostly vacuum. Stator rings aren't even close together at ejection end. But Authority's 3G catapult was almost 100 kilometers long. It was not only an astrogation landmark on every lunar jump chart, but was so big it could be photographed or seen by eye from Terra with not large telescope. It showed up beautifully on a radar screen. We were building a shorter catapult, a 10G job, but even that was 30 kilometers long, too big to hide. So, we hid it by purloined letter method. I used to question Mike's endless reading of fiction, wondering what notions he was getting. But from that he got a better feeling for human life from stories than he had been able to garner from facts. Fiction gave him a gestalt of life, one taken for granted by a human. He lives it. Besides this humanizing effect, Mike's substitute for experience, he got ideas from not true data, as he called fiction. How to hide a catapult, he got from Edgar Allan Poe. We hid it in a literal sense too. This catapult had to be underground, so that it would not show to eye or radar, but had to be hidden in more subtle sense. Selenographic location had to be secret. How can this be with a monster that big, worked on by so many people? Put it this way. Suppose you live in Novaland. Know where Luna City is? Why, on east edge of Mauricrisium. Everybody knows that. So, what latitude and longitude? Huh? Look it up in a reference book. So, if you don't know where any better than that, how did you find it last week? No, haha, cover. I took tube, changed to Torricelli, slept the rest of the way, finding it was Capsule's worry. See? You don't know where Luna City is. You simply get out when Capsule pulls in at Tube Station South. That's how we hit Catapult. It's in Mario and Durham area. Everybody knows that. But where it is, and where we said it was, differ by a map greater or less than 100 kilometers in direction north, south, east, or west, or some combination. Today you can look up its location in reference books and find same wrong answer. Location of that catapult is still most closely guarded secret in Luda. Can be seen from space, by eye or radar. Is underground, safe for ejection, and that is a big black shapeless hole like 10,000 others, and high up in an uninviting mountain with no place for a jump rocket to put down. Nevertheless, many people were there, during and after construction. Even Warden visited, and my co-husband Greg showed them around. Warden went by mail rocket, commandeered for day, and his cyborg was given coordinates and a radar beacon to home on, a spot in fact not far from sight. But from there was necessary to travel by Rolligan, and our lorries were not like passenger buses from Ennsville to Baluthahatchee in old days. They were cargo carriers, no ports for sightseeing, and a ride so rough that human cargo had to be struck down. Warden wanted to ride up in cab, but sorry, Господин. Just space for Wrangler and his helper, and took both to keep her steady. 3 hours later, he did not care about anything but getting home. He stayed 1 hour and was not interested in talk about purpose of all this drilling and value of resources uncovered. Less important people, workmen and others, traveled by interconnecting ice exploration bores, still easier way to get lost. If anybody carried an inertial pathfinder in his luggage, he could have located site. But security was tight. One did so and had accident with P-suit. His effects were returned to Isle City, and his pathfinder read what it should, i.e., what we wanted it to read, for I made hurried trip out with number 3 arm along. You can reseal one without a trace if you do it in nitrogen atmosphere. I wore an oxygen mask at slight overpressure. No, haha. We entertained VIPs from Earth, some high in authority. They traveled easier underground route. I suppose Warden had warned them. But even on that route is one 30-kilometer stretch by Rolligan. We had one visitor from Earth who looked like trouble. Dr. Dorian, physicist and engineer. Lorry tipped over. Silly driver tried shortcut. They were not in line of sight for anything, and their beacon was smashed. Poor Dr. Dorian spent 72 hours in an unsealed pumice igloo, and had to be returned to L City, ill from hypoxia, an overdose of radiation, despite efforts on his behalf by 2 party members driving him. Might have been safe to let him see. He might not have spotted double talk, and would not have spotted error in location. Few people look at stars when P-suited, even when sun doesn't make it futile. But still fewer can read stars, and nobody can locate himself on surface without help unless he has instruments, knows how to use them, and has tables, and something to give a time tick. But at coolest level, minimum would be octant, tables, and good watch. Our visitors were even encouraged to go out on surface, but if one had carried an octant or modern equivalent, might have had an accident. We did not make accidents for spies. We let them stay, worked them hard, and Mike read their reports. One reported that he was certain that we had found uranium ore, something unknown in Luna at that time. Project Center Bore, being many years later. Next spy came out with kit of radiation counters. We made it easy for him to sneak them through Bore. By March 76, Catapult was almost ready, lacking only installation of stator segments. Power plant was in, and a coax had been strung underground with a line-of-sight link for that 30 kilometers. Crew was down to skeleton size, mostly party members, but we kept one spy so that Alvarez could have regular reports. Didn't want him to worry. It tended to make him suspicious. Instead, we worried him in Warrens. 10. What changes in those 11 months? Why, I was baptized in the Grape's church. Prop's health became so shaky that he dropped teaching. Mike took up writing poetry. Yankees finished in cellar. Wouldn't have mind paying Prof if they had been nosed out. But from pennant to cellar in one season, I quit watching them on video. Prof's illness was phony. He was in perfect shape for age, exercising in a hotel room 3 hours each day, and sleeping in 300 kilograms of lead pajamas. And so was I, and so was Wyo, who hated it. I don't think she ever cheated, and spent night in comfort, though can't say for sure. I was not dossing with her. She had become a fixture in Davis' family. Took her one day to go from Gospasia Davis to Gospasia Mom. One more to reach Mom, and now it might be Mimi Mom with arm around Mom's waist. When Zebra files showed she couldn't go back to Hong Kong, Cedrus had taken Wyo into her beauty shop after hours and done a job which left skin same dark shade, but would not scrub off. Cedrus also did a hairdo on Wyo that left it black and looked as if unsuccessfully unkinked. Plus minor touches, opaque nail enamel, plastic inserts for cheeks and nostrils, and of course she wore her dark-eyed contact lenses. When Cedrus got through, Wyo could have gone bundling without fretting about her disguise. Was a perfect, colored, with ancestry to match. Tamil, a touch of Angola, German. I called her Wyma, rather than Wyo. She was gorgeous. When she undulated down a corridor, boys followed in swarms. She started to learn farming from Greg, but Mom put stop to that. While she was big and smart and willing, our farm is mostly a male operation, and Greg and Hans were not only male members of our family distracted. She caused more farming man-hours than her industry equaled. So, while I back the housework, then Sidrus took her into beauty shop as helper. Prof played ponies with 2 accounts, betting one by Mike's leading apprentice system, other by his own scientific system. By July 75, he admitted that he knew nothing about horses and went solid to Mike's system, increasing bets and spreading them among many bookies. His winnings paid parties' expenses, while Mike built swindle that financed Catapult. But Prof lost interest in a sure thing, and merely plays bets, as Mike designated. He stopped reading pony journals. Sad, something dies when an old horse player quits. Ludmilla had a girl, which they say is lucky in a first, and which delighted me. Every family needs a girl baby. Lyle surprised our women by being expert in midwifery, and surprised them again that she knew nothing about baby care. Our 2 oldest sons found marriages at last, and Teddy, 13, was opted out. Greg hired 2 lads from neighbor farms, and after 6 months of working and eating with us, both were opted in. Not rushing things. We had known them and their families for years. It restored balance we had lacked since Ludmilla's opting, and put stop to snide remarks of mothers of bachelors who had not found marriages. Not that Mum wasn't capable of snubbing anyone she did not consider up to Davis standards. Lyle recruited Sidrus. Sidrus started on sale by recruiting her other assistant, and Bonton Beauté Shop became hotbed of subversion. We started using our smallest kids for deliveries and other jobs a child can do. They can stake out or trail a person through corridors better than an adult, and are not suspected. Sidrus grabbed this notion and expanded it through women recruited in beauty parlor. Soon she had so many kids on tap that we could keep all of Alvarez's spies under surveillance. With Mike able to listen at any phone, and a child spotting it whenever a spy left home or place of work or wherever, with enough kids on call so that one could phone while another held down a new stakeout, we could keep a spy under tight observation and keep him from seeing anything we didn't want him to see. Shortly we were getting reports spies phoned in without waiting for zebra file. It did a sod no good to phone from a tap room instead of home. With Baker Street irregulars on job, Mike was listening before he finished punching number. These kids located Alvarez's deputy spy boss in El City. We knew he had one because these things did not report to Alvarez by phone. Nor did it seem possible that Alvarez could have recruited them, as none of them worked in Complex. And Alvarez came inside Luna City only when an outside VIP was so important as to raid a bodyguard, commanded by Alvarez in person. His deputy turned out to be 2 people. An old lag who ran a candy, news, and booking counter in Old Dome, and his son, who was on civil service in Complex. Some carried reports in, so Mike had not been able to hear them. We let them alone. But from then on we had Fink field reports half a day sooner than Alvarez. This advantage, all due to kids as young as 5 or 6, saved lives of 7 comrades. All glory to Baker Street irregulars. Don't remember who named them, but think it was Mike. I was merely a Sherlock Holmes fan, whereas he really did think he was Sherlock Holmes' brother Mycroft. No, what I swear he was not. Reality is a slippery notion. Kids did not call themselves that. They had their own play gangs with own names. Nor were they burdened with secrets which could endanger them. Sidrus left the mothers to explain why they were being asked to do these jobs, save that they were never to be told the real reason. Kids will do anything mysterious and fun. Look how many of their games are based on outsmarting. Bon Ton Salon was a clearinghouse of gossip. Women get news faster than Daily Lunatic. I encouraged YO to report to Mike each night. Not try to thin gossip down to what seems significant, because no telling what might be significant once Mike got through associating it with a million other facts. Beauty parlor was also a place to start rumors. Party had grown slowly at first, then rapidly, as powers of 3 began to be felt. and also because Peace Dragoons were nastier than Old Bodyguard. As numbers increased, we shifted to high speed on agitprop, black propaganda rumors, open subversion, provocateur activities, and sabotage. Finn Nielsen handled agitprop when it was simpler, as well as dangerous job of continuing to front for and put cover-up activity into older, spy-ridden underground. But now a large chunk of agitprop and related work was given to Sidris. Much involved distributing handbills and such. No subversive literature was ever in her shop, nor our home, nor that hotel room. Distribution was done by kids, too young to read. Sidris was also working a full day bending hair and such. About time she began to have too much to do, I happened one evening to make a walkabout on Causeway with Sidris on my arm when I caught sight of a familiar face and figure. Skinny little girl, all angles, carrot red hair. She was possibly 12, at stage when a femme shoots up just before blossoming out into rounded softness. I knew her, but could not say why, or when, or where. I said, "Psst, baby doll." Eyeball young femme ahead. Orange hair, no cushions. Sidris looked her over. "Darling, I knew you were eccentric, but she's still a boy." "Damp it." "Who?" "Bog knows. Shall I sprag her?" Suddenly I remembered like video coming on, and wished Lyle were with me. But Lyle and I were never together in public. This skinny redhead had been at meeting where Shorty was killed. She sat on floor against wall, down front, and listened with wide-eyed seriousness, and applauded fiercely. Then I had seen her at end in free trajectory, curled into ball and air, and hit a yellow-jacketed knees. He whose jaw I broke a moment later. Lyle and I were alive and free because this kid moved fast in a crisis. "No, don't speak to her," I told Sidris. "But I want to keep her in sight. Wish we had one of your irregulars here. Damn." "Drop off and phone Lyle. You'll have one in 5 minutes," my wife said. I did. Then Sidris and I strolled, looking in shop windows and moving slowly, as Quarry was window shopping. In 7 or 8 minutes a small boy came toward us, stopped and said, "Hello, Auntie Mabel. Hi, Uncle Joe." Sidris took his hand. "Hi, Tony. How's your mother, dear?" "Just fine," he added in a whisper. "I'm Jock." "Sorry," Sidris said quietly to me. "Stay on her," and took Jack into a tuck shop. She came out and joined me. Jock followed her, licking a lollipop. "Bye, Auntie Mabel. Thanks." He danced away, rotating, wound up by that little redhead, stood and stared into a display, solemnly sucking his sweet. Sidris and I went home. A report was waiting. "She went into Crater Row crash and hasn't come out. Do we stay on it?" "A bit yet," I told Lyle, and asked if she remembered this kid. She did, but had no idea who she might be. "You could ask Finn." "Can do better." I called Mike. Yes, Cradle Row Crash had a phone, and Mike would listen. Took him 20 minutes to pick up enough to get analysis. Many young voices, and at such ages almost sexless. But presently, he told me, "Man, I hear 3 voices that could match the age and physical type you described. However, 2 answer 2 names which I assume to be masculine. The 3rd answers when anyone says Hazel, which an older female voice does repeatedly. She seems to be Hazel's boss." "Mike, look at old organization file. Check Hazel's." 4 Hazels. He answered at once. And here she is. Hazel Mead, Young Comrades Auxiliary. Address, Cradle Row Crash. Born 25 December, 2063. Mass 39 kilos. Height. That's our little jump jet. Thanks, Mike. Lyle, call off stakeout. Good job. Mike, call Donna and pass the word. That's a dear. I left the two girls to recruit Hazelmead and did not eyeball her until Sidrus moved her into our household 2 weeks later. But Wyatt volunteered to report before them. Policy was involved. Sidrus had filled her cell but wanted Hazelmead. Besides this irregularity, Sidrus was doubtful about recruiting a child. Policy was adults only, 16 and up. I took her to Adam Celine, an executive cell. As I see, I said, this cells of 3 system is to serve us, not bind us. See nothing wrong in Comrade Cecilia having an extra, nor any real danger to security. I agree, said Prof. But I suggest...